Good afternoon, classmates of Organizational Theory 664 and Dr. Luis Ortiz. Today I would like to talk to you about a great leader, a cornerstone in our nation's history. This leader we will talk about today is Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. But first, I would like to take some time to discuss my strengths and weaknesses. I have used the graph to replicate balance. I believe balance is by far my strongest characteristic and the weakest point of my life. In order to find balance in the chaos I find myself within, I plan, organize, and schedule to the very minute of every day. Though this may sound very difficult, I believe as a leader who wears many hats, I need to ensure I take the time needed for each task. Those tasks range from my day-to-day job, meeting with various groups of people, organizations, and agencies, to managing class and my children's homework. Not only do I balance these tasks, I also take time for myself and my wife. I believe balance is the greatest strength yet biggest weakness of mine. But how? Where is the correlation between balance and the person I have chosen to research? I believe the correlation involves leadership. Dr. King was a great leader. He understood each and every individual, his audience, and their specific needs. Dr. King relied on the situation at hand to engage the people and continue the conversation about civil rights. Though I may never be half the leader Dr. King was, I can understand one of his strongest characteristics, and that is balance. Dr. King suffered from having to be everywhere at once. He was empathetic, listened to the people, but with these great speeches that he made, where did he make time for himself? His personal life, his family, and his wife. Where did he have the time? I believe balance is a strong trait to possess, and once mastered can be the best to have in any leader's arsenal. But who was Dr. King? Dr. King was born Michael King Jr. on January 15, 1929, to Michael King Sr. and Alberta Williams King. Dr. King had many siblings, but yet stood out from them all. In his early years, Dr. King skipped both 9th and 10th grades, attending Morehouse College at the age of 15. Soon after graduating Morehouse College, Dr. King earned his Ph.D. from Boston University, all while being married with 4 children. Dr. King achieved his Ph.D. at the age of 25, but how did Dr. King come to be, despite his education, perseverance, and balance? Dr. King maintained motivation and drive through all of his journeys. He included people in his speeches, rallies, and activism. Dr. King also had 4 leadership styles, only found in few great leaders. These 4 styles were that of servant leadership, directive leadership, participative leadership, and authentic leadership, as described in the article written in Snapshots of a Great Leader by John P. Howell. The leadership styles paved the way for Dr. King's momentous future. Dr. King was the leading spokesman for the Montgomery bus boycott. Dr. King was a young, ambitious male from a well-to-do middle-class family. He led a group of 5,000 men and women to take action. This resulted in over 300 days of boycotting the public transportation system in Montgomery, Alabama, but was met with retaliation of direct violence from local law enforcement authorities to the black community. However, this spawned the dawn of Brown versus Board of Education, ultimately leading to the ban on segregation of public transportation being lifted. Though this was only the beginning of Dr. King, Dr. King's most famous speech came August 28, 1963, in front of the Lincoln Memorial. Leading a group of over 200,000 with his only weapon at hand, the power of his voice, Dr. King inspired the many in his audience to not give up and use non-violent methods to achieve success rather than violent protests. This speech ultimately led the federal government to enforce desegregation and outlaw discrimination in public spaces. Achieving success Of their activism, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a brilliant person. Though he may have had some indiscretions in his life, he was able to bring together a nation in a time the United States was not the best at leading. Though the four leadership styles discovered on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., he can be described as a man who believed in teamwork and solving issues in a nonviolent manner. But how does this benefit business in the modern era? The way this benefits the modern era, either knowing or not, what Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was doing was creating a shift in business practices throughout the United States. These business practices encompass diversity, inclusion, and teamwork. This network of characteristics all lead to a more cohesive business environment with laws and regulations governing each. In conclusion, the key takeaways from this for me are Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was an influential leader, utilizing the tools which surrounded him. These were the tools of the people. He used their voice, their issues, and finally his skills of empathy, communication, and resilience to drive home civil and human rights for total equality of all people. Not only were these issues of the 50s and 60s, but each still remained relevant to today's battles. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is someone whose voice and words still inspire change and continue to be words of reflection for great leaders to come.